Memorial. So Patrick Vernon is the chair of the Windrush Anchor Memorial Fund, and David Mearns is the deep sea explorer who's going to be working on the recovery operation, both with me for a chat. Thank you so much. And Sir Patrick, can I congratulate you? Is your knighthood pretty recent?
It was announced over a week ago in the King's Birthdays Honours list.
And how's that feel for you?
It feels a bit surreal, but still, I mean, I think maybe when I get to the palace and I receive it, then it'll probably hit home. But I've had loads of messages of support, well-wishing me and congratulating me, and I'm receiving it, so it's an honour. Yes.
Well, congratulations again from us. So there'll be people listening to this who are asking, why would you want to get a murky anchor up to create a national memorial with a different focus? Why would you go to all that effort then? Why do you think this is so important, Sir Patrick?
It is murky currently, but it won't be for long. Dave can explain why it won't be murky. But the Windrush ship is well known, it's documented, it's an important part of British history. The ship not just simply brought 1,400 passengers coming from the Caribbean. The ship kind of symbolises how Britain changed after World War II around migration, how migration has contributed to Britain, and particularly how the Windrush generation themselves have contributed in all aspects of public life, from the NHS, even the media, construction, you know, every aspect of British life has been impacted by the Windrush generation. And we feel that the ship itself, and particularly the anchor, needs to be recognised as part of that history. And that's why we want to recover the anchor from the bottom of the sea as another symbol and a memorial of that recognition of that Windrush generation. My parents were part of that generation, and the people, I think, over the last 10 to 15 years, the public have recognised, partly because of the Windrush scandal, but also partly because that generation have contributed, and sadly, many of them are passing away when they came here as young people back in the 1940s and 50s as well.
We'll talk about the scandal in just a moment. You brought it up there. Isn't there already a National Windrush Monument at Waterloo Station? Is this going to replace or be added to that monument, Patrick?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I'm actually at Network Rail celebrating Black Windrush Day with staff there, and they're very proud of that memorial, and I was there at the unveiling. But there are a number of memorials around Britain. I mean, for example, in Hackney, East London, where I live, there's 2 memorials. A memorial was opened in Birmingham, which I attended with Paulette Hamilton MP. That was unveiled a couple of years ago. And actually today, later on today, in Wolverhampton, there'll be another memorial that's going to be unveiled about this generation. So actually, all these memorials are important where they are located up and down the country, and they celebrate different aspects of that Windrush history. And not one memorial on its own can't tell that story, and that's why we feel that this memorial is important. But this is important because this is not just simply a replica. We are looking and recovering the original anchor of that from the ship that made that historic journey on the 25th of May 1948.
Can I bring David into this then? David Mearns, deep sea explorer, going to be working on this recovery operation. Can I ask you first of all, David, are you looking forward to it? Because it's on a seabed at the moment. You're going to have to drag it up, and we don't even know what kind of state it's in. How do you feel about taking this on?
Well, thank you for the interview. Well, it was about 6-7 years ago when Patrick and I were asked to get involved, and I think it's a really important project. And yes, it's a challenge to find a wreck at this depth of water and to recover an object of that size. But relative to other things that I have done, it's relatively straightforward, actually. We know where to look for the ship. We know pretty much what the ship will look like on the seabed. It won't be actually murky. It'll be quite crystal clear in terms of the water quality and clarity, and the anchor will be brought up and conserved, and in a way it'll look very much like the anchor in that photograph, and that photograph that everybody has seen that is now truly iconic of the Empire Windrush docked in Tilbury in 1948 with the railings absolutely jam-packed with men with their arms outstretched, knowing that they were starting a new life in this country. And in the center of that image, that picture, below the word Empire Windrush and below London is that anchor. And that's why this monument will be different from all the others, because the anchor will be a physical touchstone to connect people to that moment in history, that historical milestone in our country's history, in a way that no other monument can. And that's why you asked how would I feel to do it. I would feel that of all the shipwrecks that I have been involved with, that this one has the capacity to reach and touch and impact the lives of more people than any other.
Let's talk a little bit about what happened to the Windrush then, if you don't mind. I'm talking to David Mearns, deep sea explorer. He's going to be working on the recovery operation of the Windrush anchor. So it's going to be the Empire Windrush. It's going to be used as a memorial. It's going to be recovered because it's at the bottom of the sea. How did it come to be in that position, David, in the first place?
So after the war, the British took the Windrush from the Germans as a prize, and they renamed it. It was a ship called the Monte Rosa. They named it the Empire Windrush, and it was used by the Transport Department as a transport ship. So in 1948, it was transporting. This was the first wave of Afro-Caribbean immigrants from mainly Jamaica, but the Caribbean. But that's the only voyage it made like that. And then after that, it was used also as a transport. In 1954, it was bringing back British troops and their families. So there were women and children on board in 1954 when there was an engine room fire off the coast of Algeria, catastrophic fire. And the ship was had to be abandoned. And very fortunately, the weather was good. And there were lots of other commercial, naval and other merchant vessels there to be able to rescue everybody. So this could have been a huge disaster in terms of loss of life or injury to people. But the crew were remarkable. And in just over an hour of time, they rescued 1,496 people. Now, 4 people were killed in the engine room, and you know, we respect those people and their families. But other than that, you know, there was a lot of survivors. So this was a major event, which was even televised at the time in terms of video of the ship on fire and just before it sank. So that's why it's been down there all this time.
Right. Can I ask you how much this operation is going to cost? Have you got any idea, David?
Yeah, very roughly, the operation to go out there and find the wreck and to recover the anchor is about £1 million, maybe 1.2. Now we're looking to raise £2 million. That's because the other part of the project, which is something that Patrick can talk to, is an educational program aligned with the time that will take to actually conserve this anchor. It needs to be removed of all the soats. That's a time-consuming operation to be able to remove all the soap that has been entrained into the metal, and then prepare it for for being used in the memorial. There'll be a jury-led competition for artists and sculptors and other people to put together their ideas for the design, what it will look like. And all during that time, we need to educate the public, because if you ask most people in the street, you know, what does the Windrush stand for today, they'll think of the scandal. Well, that's a false narrative. It wasn't the Windrush scandal. It was a Home Office scandal. And what the Windrush name should really, represent in this country is that 1948 voyage and everything that happened after that. So this is an opportunity to change the narrative for a positive way, and that's that. There needs to be a campaign connected with that, so that story is told around the country, everywhere that 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 felt the contribution from this generation of people.
Can I finally ask you, Sir Patrick? So obviously, what all that stuff that very important information that David gave us there, crucial to this whole project. I was down in Westminster a couple of weeks ago. Portcullis House, they've got the faces of some of the people wronged by the Windrush scandal. We're using that phrase. David said it's not really appropriate, but that's how we recognise it. How do you think they'd feel about, over £1 million being spent on recovering an anchor when they, in fact, haven't felt very anchored in Britain after the scandal? Is this something for everyone? And are you going to have to raise the money for this then, as a memorial fund kind of chair?
Yeah, so we have launched today. We officially launched the campaign. We're a registered charity, which David's involved in, and we've got a number of trustees. So that's why we raised £2 million. Yes, there are some people that will not be happy because, as you know, some people lost their homes. They lost their jobs. Some people died connected with the Home Office Windrush scandal. Some people got deported. I was heavily involved in campaigning to expose that scandal and then working with a number of organisations to try and right the wrongs for those people who were treated badly by the government. And that's why we've made it very clear that we do not want to have any money at all from the government. All we want from the government is their blessings to support this project, but we want to raise money from the public in terms of individual donations, and we want to work with philanthropists who want to contribute to this project, to see the importance of this history, this legacy, and how this memorial can sort of bring the country together. We're in difficult times in Britain, and I think this memorial is important, and also the memorial is linked to the Jewish community because the ship itself, during the Second World War, was used as a German troop carrier, and it did capture and take over 46 Jewish people to Auschwitz. So we are working with the Jewish community to recognise its history, and also the seamen that had died in the engine room, we want to recognise them as well. So we feel that this is an important endeavour, but also I recognise that for some people, as you look at the broader Windrush Day, some people are still fighting for the rights. I mean, today there's a petition is going to be presented to Keir Starmer, even though we know he's leaving today, or officially leaving today, or stepping down as Prime Minister, demanding that the compensation scheme needs to be removed from the Home Office and for it to be given the proper resources to support those victims to move on with their lives.
When are we hoping then that obviously that's one issue, sorting out that. Still issues around, people that I know who haven't got the compensation, haven't had the pardon, haven't actually been recognised through the tough process of the Windrush scandal. When do we hope to see the anchor in place then, David?
Well, we could be ready to do the recovery next year. And then it would take about a year for the conservation, and during that time we could run the competition. So there's a possibility. It would have to be aggressive, where we could do it on the anniversary of the 1948 voyage, and this would be in 2028. So that's the sort of time frame I think we're looking at, between sort of 2028 and maybe the year after. But the key start of it is the funding. We need the money to be able to do this, and that's why we're announcing the new fundraising campaign tomorrow. But 6 years of effort by Patrick and myself in terms of doing all the research, putting together the plans, building this this support from the ground level up, has been, that hard work is done. And so we're ready to go as soon as we have the money.
Wonderful. Deep sea explorer David Mearns and Sir Patrick Vernon, thank you ever so much. And are you going to do anything special today, very briefly, to mark Windrush Day? I mean, obviously what you're doing now is marking it, but what else? Have you got any other plans?
Well, I'm doing speaking. I've just been speaking at Network Rail. I'm going to. I'm in London today. I would have gone. I'd love to be in Wolverhampton because they're unveiling a Windrush Memorial, which is actually based around the anchor. And then Hackney Council organising a major Windrush event. And then in the evening, another event in the evening, which is looking at the Home Office scandal through a documentary that's been made about 2 women that were affected by that. So I've got a full-on day, plus other media interviews thrown in between.
Yes, of course, you're talking to me. Sir Patrick Vernon, thank you ever so much, Chair of the Windrush Anchor Memorial Fund. And again, Deep Sea Explorer David Mearns talking to